What is your partner's strangest request while having sex? I should wake him up with oral. Tried it, he was moving and enjoying it, so I assumed he woke up. He finished. He never woke up. Wanting to get railed in a Victorian dress in a greenhouse during a thunderstorm. Not a request, but I was half asleep one morning and my GF started to give me a handjob like lazily. It felt really good and then she just stopped like right before I was ready, so I just grabbed her hand, held it around my junk as I finished. I didn't know she was actually like sleep jerking me, and then she woke up to me just a fucking her fist. One night things are getting hot and heavy and I want my fiancé to dirty talk as it turns me on. He is going at it. When I blurt out, "Talk to me like I'm your sex doll," he just paused and said I wouldn't talk to a sex doll and started laughing. Ah, memories. Edit, I meant to say dirty talk to me, but clearly my brain wasn't working at the moment. To hum happy birthday on his cock on his birthday. Had an ex request I wake her up from time to time with sex. Every time I did she got highly upset with me that I woke her up. Can you say quack? Quack. Yes, but like a sexy quack, like you're a sexy duck. Years ago, partner asked me, female, not to move during sex. Good times were had by one. It seems a little tame, but the guy I'm with is into being smothered. Like having his face sat on and me just putting all my weight on him. Like if he feels like I'm not putting all my weight on him, he pulls me down. Maybe it's like a sexy weighted blanket, IDK. I'm just here looking for some new kinks. He asked me to pee directly on his dick. I didn't get it, but I figured it's NBD as long as I'm not getting peed on. And then he referred to it as marking my territory, and I swear I went from confused but willing to completely turned on instantly. You just gotta frame it correctly, I guess, lol. In the middle of having sex, my ex-girlfriend requested that we play hide and seek. I was not amused at first. She explained that once I found her, she wanted me to force myself into her safe word, I believe, was fire truck. She had a 3-story house and we would start in the master bedroom. Once I found her and penetrated, she would immediately stop resisting and we would put her feet behind her head. I became very fond of hide and seek. She would resist and fight, but once I hit the objective it was super intense. I dated a girl once that insisted that we try to sleep together all night with my dick still inside her. I was once asked if I wanted to do water sports on a third date. I did not know what that meant and my naive ass turned up to their house wearing swim shorts and goggles, and surprisingly I was both prepared and unprepared. I had a GF who made it very clear, if she yells stop or no I should keep going. She got angry when I did stop when she yelled stop once. Took me some time to adjust to the fact that was her things. What is a record, sports or otherwise, that will likely never be broken? The Lion King is the highest VHS sales of all time. Jacques Villeneuve, Michael Schumacher and Heinz-Harald Frentzen set the exact same time in qualifying in the 1997 European Grand Prix. To the thousandth of a second. Oh, I know this one. When I was a kid, we had a Guinness Book of Records lying around that we liked to browse in while bored. There was this one guy in it who held a record for most bikes eaten. No, you did read that right. He ground up a bike and slowly consumed it over I don't know how long a time. The record was accompanied by a note that no further records of bike eating would be accepted, as it was deemed too dangerous. The longest professional tennis match of all time, John Isner vs Nicholas Mahut at Wimbledon 2010. It lasted 11 hours 5 minutes, spanning 3 days of play, with a final score of 6-4, 3-6, 6-7, 7-6, 70-68. It was already nearly twice as long as the previous record holder. The reason it will likely never be broken is that every professional tournament except for one, Roland Garros, now has tiebreaker rules that limit the number of games that can be played in final sets. Although it's hypothetically possible at RG, clay court tennis is not at all conducive to the serve and volley style of play that led to the insanely long 5th set of Isner Mahut. The current record for the Cannonball Run, a drive from New York to LA, is about 25.5 hours. It was set in May of 2020, and the drivers were able to make use of the lack of traffic due to the pandemic to break the record. Barring another similar world-changing event, traffic conditions will probably never be what they were when that record was set. Alexander Karelin, Greco-Roman wrestler. 887 wins to 2 losses. Entered 9 world championships and never lost a bout in them. Glenn Hall played 502 consecutive games as an NHL goalie. Zero chance that will ever be broken. Goalies these days rarely play more than 3/4 of an 82-game season, let alone numerous seasons without a night off. Surprised no one mentioned the unlimited water speed record. The current unlimited record is 511.11 km per hour, 317.59 miles per hour, achieved by Australian Ken Warby in the Spirit of Australia in 1978. It hasn't been broken to this day due to how dangerous it is to go at those sort of speeds on the surface, and plenty of people have passed away trying. Hey race, the wiki article for the boat, which is kinda interesting. Rodrigo Cini's record as the football goalkeeper with the most goals scored, 131 goals through his career, more than double of Chilavert's previous record. Cy Young pitched 749 complete games in his career. The current active pitcher with the most complete games in his career is Adam Wainwright, who has pitched for 17 years and has 27 complete games total. Pitchers just don't pitch the whole game anymore, and Young's record will never come close to being touched. Edit: to put Young's record in further perspective relative to modern-day pitchers, I looked up career complete game stats for all current MLB pitchers, and there are 124 pitchers total who have at least one complete game in their career, for a total of 505 collectively, 244 less than Cy Young alone pitched in his career. Luigi Fagioli won the 1951 French Grand Prix at the age of 53 years, 22 days, making him the oldest F1 winner in history. Given that F1 drivers rarely continue driving past 40 anymore, this record looks pretty safe. The Voyager Golden record is now in deep space and is extremely unlikely to ever come across anything which could break it before the end of humanity. John Isner hit 113 aces in his 70-68 match at Wimbledon, played over 3 days. That record will never be broken because Wimbledon changed their rules so they can't play that many games ever again. Wayne Gretzky's career points. Tiger Woods' 142 consecutive cuts made. Didn't miss a cut between 1998 and 2005. What is the greatest unsolved mystery of all time? Disappearance of Asha Degree. In 2000, 9-year-old girl that packed a bag in the middle of a storm and was last seen walking down a highway. A driver approached her to help and she ran into the woods and was never seen again. Nothing suggests why she would run away. Her book bag was found a year later. Most likely she was abducted while walking, but why did she leave her house in the middle of a raging storm? The disappearance of the Springfield Three is a top contender for me. Long story short, in the early morning hours of June 7, 1992, these 3 women, Cheryl Levitt, 47, her daughter Suzanne Susie Streeter, 19, and Susie's friend Stacy McCall, 18, all vanished from Cheryl and Susie's home following a night of fun and partying, as it was the girls' high school graduation. All their personal belongings, their cars, purses, and even the little dog was left behind. There were no signs of a struggle or foul play, however. The front porch light's glass globe was broken and not swept up, and there was a weird message of the answering machine that accidentally got deleted. Yet, no trace of the 3 women has ever been found and the case remains unsolved 30 years later. My favorite is the Chicago TV hijacking. During a Doctor Who rerun in 1987, somebody dressed as Max Headroom hijacked the TV signal for a minute and a half, during which he exposed his ass and got spanked by a woman and mocked Coca-Cola. FCC has been investigating for years and nobody has been charged. One I'm always fascinated with is, I believe in the mid-2000s, a student at Ohio State mysteriously disappeared and to this day they have no idea what happened to him. Basically, he went out to a popular bar with friends. The security camera sees him walking into the bar and this is the only entrance/exit, as the bar is in a larger building, but it never sees him leave the bar at the end of the night. His name was Brian Schaefer. It's an interesting story/mystery to take a look at. What the hell happened to the 3 escapees of the inescapable Alcatraz? If they did survive or not, but if they did, that's one hell of a plan to escape undetected till to this day. The Yuba County Five. One of the detectives interviewed at some point said not a damn thing about this case makes any sense at all. 5 guys with minor disabilities go to a basketball game. They have their own very anticipated game to play in the next morning. One of the guys even laid out his uniform for the next day. They leave the game they were spectators for. On the drive home, they stopped to buy snacks. The wrappers were found in the car and the cashier remembered them. Then instead of going home, they drive miles and miles out of their way to a national state park, leave their perfectly functioning and fueled car to wander unprepared into the snowy wilderness. A witness claims to have seen a second vehicle and perhaps a woman. A convenience store nearby claimed to have seen them the next day. But 3 of them are found dead in the woods, believed to have died from exposure. A 4th one is found in a trailer in the woods that had sufficient food and heat sources to survive for quite a while, having apparently starved to death and losing 200 pounds before succumbing to that and hypothermia. He had approximately 13 weeks of beard growth. The last man has never been found. So, firstly, why? And then why starve to death in the woods for weeks? If it was foul play, for what purpose? Their car wasn't stolen. There was no money to be gained. Even if it was some weird cult thing, none of them were apparently harmed, they all just died in the woods from staying in the woods. Edit. A lot of people are pointing out that the man who starved to death lacked common sense and his disability might have led to him not wanting to eat stolen food. He was not alone in the trailer the entire time. After he died, someone wrapped his body and head in a way he could not have wrapped himself. His disability alone does not explain his starvation. At least 2 of them made it to the trailer, and some of the food was opened and eaten, but not enough to keep him from starving. Some of the food was stored in an outbuilding, it's just more likely that they didn't look hard enough to find it. More than the starvation, the problem is that they stayed somewhere in the woods for weeks instead of just walking down the road on any particular day the weather was better. The car belonged to Jack Madruga. He really did not like anyone else driving his vehicle, and he was not the one with schizophrenia. So while Gary Mathias absolutely could have initiated the whole event with an episode, he had been taking his meds and he was very unlikely to be at the wheel and just take the other 4 along for the ride. However, I understand it is possible that in the midst of an episode Gary pressured Jack into letting him drive. Their families knew their disabilities a whole hell of a lot better than you do, and their parents let them go to a basketball game together and were baffled at how this happened. I'm sure their disabilities played into how it happened, there's just layers of confusing details and contradictions. Where is Shelley Miscavige?